Yeah, I will. For a long time. Yeah, a long time. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Well, I'm going to try to contact him. Yeah, do that. Because I know he got to travel. So, yeah. All right, thanks a lot. Thank you. Okay. We are live right here at KBF 88.3 FM. It's a lot going on this morning, but you heard the music and you know what that means. We got work to do. That is Tony's theme song. And unfortunately, look, I wish I knew all of what was going on with his life, but he does not always inform me. So I have to learn the hard way. But Tony will not be here, so I am rolling solo this morning. But I want to give thanks to those of you who are listening anyhow. Even though Tony is not here, you are still willing to listen to the show, The Workplace. Thank you so much for that. You have no idea how grateful I am for your participation in whatever form it shows up. As a matter of fact, I need to apologize to you from Tuesday. A week ago Tuesday, the phone was ringing on this new board, and it was ringing and interrupting me, and I felt some kind of way about it, and I let Tony know. And so Tony did whatever he needed to do to make sure that the phone does not ring out loud while we are talking, but there's a light that lets us know that the phone is ringing. So I haven't figured that out yet. So I think that there was he told me after the fact that there were some of you who were trying to call in on Tuesday, and I was not answering the phone because I was not understanding what was happening. So my deepest apologies to you. Please know that I am trying to figure it out. If you want to call in, 501-433-0088. We are live right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. So if we proclaim to be the voice of the people, we need to hear the voices of the people. So please, 501-433-0088. Know that your voices are important to us. You are meaningful and significant in this space. It is not our intent to not get your calls on the air. It is me trying to figure out what is happening with this new board. So thank you for your patience and for your grace and for who you are. KBF 88.3 FM would not exist if it were not for you. I think it's 39 years we celebrated last earlier this year, and it's because of you. It's because of your presence in all of its manifestations. So some of you donate weekly, and I think that there is a what do we call it? A pledge drive. Yes, pledge drive that is going to happen. I think it starts on Saturday, but you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for a particular day. We are always accepting pledges. The BioWatt campaign is already up here on the board for us to remind you that you can get 60-second spots for $150. 60-second spots for $150. You can get that now during pledge drive. And now that only happens during pledge drive, because if you compare the prices with other radio stations, you will find that this is your best offer. So we want you to know that happens right here at KBF 88.3 FM. And it's not because you have a business. It's not because you are a politician. It's not because you are a pontificator. It is because you have some information that you think is important for the people who are listening globally. This is not just a local radio station anymore. We are a global streaming platform. People are listening from all around the world. And so if you want to have your information, something that you want to share with the people, this is where you can make that happen. 60-second spots for $150 during pledge drive right here at KBF 88.3 FM. 501-372-6119 is the number to the office. So when you want to conduct business, that's the better number to call. 501-372-6119. It is difficult for those of us who are DJs and hosts and co-hosts. It's difficult for us to take those pledges while we are in the middle of a live show. So 501-433-0088 is the number that you call when you want your voice to be heard about what we're talking about. 372-6119 is the number you call when you want to conduct your business. Now, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm just saying that's the better way to be serviced right here at KBF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people, located at 2101 South Main Street, right here in Little Rock, in the state of Arkansas, 72206. This is The Workplace, and you are listening live right here with your host today, Denise. So Tony is headed to London. The song this morning, usually he plays the instrumental, but this morning I was playing the version of the song that actually has the music actually has the lyrics to the song, and the singer, the composer, is writing particularly to his partner. So for those people who are in intimate relationship with us, those people who know more about what's happening with our lives, those people who are privy to the ins and out of our daily schedules, this particular composer is saying, listen, I need you to understand that I won't always be present. All the times that you want me to be present, even all the times that I want to be present, it is not possible because there is so much work to do. There are so many spaces that need my voice heard in them. There are so many places that I have to touch on the ground with my feet. There are so many different organizations and institutions, and there's so many different individuals. There's so much work that has to happen that there are sometimes when those that are closest to me are going to have to experience my absence because I gotta get this work done. I know I'm not the only one doing the work, but I am called to do a specific part of the work, and I am committed to it. I am dedicated to it, and that is what is happening right now with Tony not being here. He's headed to London on behalf of United Local Unions 100, who also underwrites his show every Thursday, making sure that the work is done there. I can't remember, like, I'm going to be honest. He tells me the stuff like that he has to do. I don't think that I am fully present when he's talking to me all the time. So I know there are panels that he has to participate in. I know that there are conversations, dialogues that he's going to moderate, but I don't know. I don't know how long he's going to be. I don't know. All I know is he is not here because he is doing the work. And so we want to give grace to him, and we want to acknowledge his absence in this place, yes, but to recognize that there is a reason why he is unable to be with us, because he is busy doing the work. I don't know what time his flight leaves. I don't know what time he'll get in, but I'm sure he'll tell you all about it when he gets back. That's one thing we can say about Tony. He's going to tell you all his business when he gets back. But just because Tony is leaving for London doesn't mean that we are not having Domino's in the Park tomorrow night. I will be there. So those of you who are interested in showing up right here at Petaway Park on 21st Street, which is down the street from the studio in downtown Little Rock, we will be there from 5 to 7 for sure. From 5 to 7 for sure. Sometimes we are there long enough for us to have to pull out our phones so that we can use our flashlights and rig up a way to see the board. But other times we leave at 7 so that people can continue on with their evening. So yeah, let's get started with our conversation today. One of the things that Tony has said to me in the most recent past is that he sometimes feels like Community Voices bleeds over into the workplace, and he wants to make sure that the workplace is understood to be a curated space for us to talk about social justice issues as they relate to the workplace. So we want to center people who are workers, people who are employed, people who are punching the clock, all of those different idiosyncrasies, all of those different words and phrases that we use to remind us that there are those of us who have 9-to-5 jobs that are our livelihoods, and what is happening in them, and what we can do as a community to rally around those people who may be experiencing some injustices in that space, and that those injustices are happening all the time. So I want to make sure that I honor that, and that I do talk about the workplace, what's happening as we share this time together. And so what I'd like to do is just lift up a couple of concerns that I have, and then invite you all to reach out at 501-433-088. I'm trying to keep looking around, make sure I pay attention to the light so that I can make sure that you get on the air today. But to lift up a couple of situations and circumstances and see if there is something that you have to add, something that you are concerned about, something that you want to say as it relates to what is happening in the workplace. I got a caller right now. Caller, you are live on the air at KBF 88.3. Caller? I don't understand what's happening. Caller, please call back. I know we are excited about having this new equipment. I am super excited about having the new equipment. I will be more excited when I really understand how to make sure that it works properly and it functions well for us. So caller, please call back. I do want to hear what you have to say. We are talking about the workplace. So my mother, who has been living with me since June. We are trying a new schedule. I have two older brothers who both live in Florida, one in Fort Myers, one in Cape Coral. And she has decided that she wants to split her time equally amongst the three of us. So 4 months here in Arkansas, 4 months in Fort Myers, and then 4 months in Cape Coral before she starts the cycle over again. So I'm not supposed to see her when she leaves here on Saturday for the next 8 months. I cannot imagine being without my mama for 8 months, but I do want to honor my brothers who say it's not fair for her to spend so much time with me. She is their mother too, I get it. And so there is a service that she loves. She has to go to dialysis. She is a dialysis patient. She has kidney failure, the last stage of kidney failure. She lives with every single day, and she goes to dialysis 3 times a week at DaVita Dialysis over on the Baptist Health campus. And she loves the fact that there is a transportation system that picks her up from my home, our home, I call it our home, so that she can feel independent. Because even though she's 86 years old and there are some things with which she needs help, she wants to live an independent life as long as possible. And she will tell you that. She will tell strangers that who walk up to her with wheelchairs and strangers who want to make sure that they hold her hand. She's like, I got it. I got it. So she has stopped me because when she first started living with me, I would drive her to dialysis and pick her up. But she said no, she does not want that. She wants to go on her own with the transportation service. So she has a chair time at 11 o'clock a.m. and they come and pick her up about 10:20 so that they can get her there in time for her to make it be seated and ready to go when the service people call for her. But I got a call from them, from CareLink, the other day saying that they were working on a schedule and the new schedule requires that she be picked up at 7:30 in the morning for her trip to dialysis. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm not, I don't understand what you're saying right now. You want to pick her up at 7:30 in the morning for a chair time that starts at 11 o'clock in the morning. So you want her to sit in the lobby at the dialysis place facility for 3.5 hours before she has to sit in the chair to be dialyzed for 3 hours and 15 minutes. And then she has to hold her stick in her fistula for the next 15. And then she has to wait on you to pick her up and bring her back to the house. So she doesn't get home until probably around 4 o'clock. So you want to pick her up at 7:30 in the morning and drop her off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon because you are redoing your schedule. Help me understand. So the woman says, well, ma'am, look, I didn't make this decision. I'm just giving you the answer. I need you to know that she's going to be picked up at 7:30 in the morning. And I think they said it's going to start on Friday, which would be November 3rd, so tomorrow. And I said, no, ma'am, you're not going to do that. That's what you're not going to do. And she said, ma'am, excuse me, I'm telling you what the schedule says. I said, ma'am, it does not matter to me what your schedule says. What you're not going to do is pick my mother up at 7:30 and have her sitting in that lobby for 3.5 hours before her chair time. She said, well, I'm going to have to give you somebody's number so you can call and talk to them because I'm just telling you what I'm supposed to tell you. I said, that's fine. Who am I? Who do I need to talk to? And she said, so she gave me the number and I said, okay, that's fine. But before I could call back to talk to the manager, it sounded like the same person. I want to say it was Crystal, called me back and said, I'm sorry, I want to let you know that particular time change, the schedule change, will not go into effect on this Friday, November 3rd. It will go into effect on November 6th. So I wanted to call and make sure you know exactly what day the change will go into effect. And I said to her, ma'am, it does not matter what day the change goes into effect. You're not going to do that. You are not picking my mother up at 7:30 in the morning for a chair time that does not start until 11 o'clock. That is not what's going to happen. And so Crystal said, well, ma'am, you're going to have to talk to my boss. I said, okay, what's your boss? Send me to your boss. Let me talk to your boss. And so I ended up talking to someone named Mac. And Mac said, well, ma'am, we're just trying to be the most efficient that we can be in making sure that we serve all the people that need to be served. And so I said, okay, Mac, help me understand that right now you come to pick up my mother at 10:20 for an 11 o'clock chair time, but you think it would be more efficient for her to be picked up at 7:30 for an 11 o'clock chair time. So you think it's more efficient for her to sit for 3.5 hours before she has to be dialyzed for 3 hours and 15 minutes, and then she has to hold her stick for another 15 minutes, then wait on you all to get there, and then travel with her home. You think that it's more efficient for her to be there all day? And so he said, well, ma'am, let me just work on this some more. I said, okay. He said, I'll call you back later on today. I said, well, do you have my phone number? He said, well, I should have your phone number, but let me just check and see. I said, okay, let me make sure. Area code 228-236-7440. And this is Denise. And by now, I think everybody knows that this is Denise. And so I'm waiting for Mac to call me back from his workplace at the Care Lake Transportation, and he does not. Instead, Crystal calls me yet again to say, ma'am, I want to let you know what the schedule is that's going to start on November 6th for your mother. She's going to be picked up at 7:30 in the morning. And I said, Crystal, I have said to you more than once that is not going to happen. And she said to me, well, what are you saying? Are you saying that you don't want us to pick her up? And I said, wait a minute. What are you saying? Are you saying that these are my only options? Either you pick her up at 7:30 in the morning or you won't pick her up at all? Is that what you are saying? She said, ma'am, I need you to talk to my boss. My boss said that this is what has been approved. And I said, well, your boss? I just talked to your boss, Mac. I'm waiting on Mac to call me back. So what do you say? Who are you talking about? Well, all I'm telling you, ma'am, is that my manager said that his manager, my boss said that his boss said that this has been approved. I said, well, who is your boss's boss? And she said, Brandy. I said, well, can I have Brandy's phone number? And she said, I need you to hold on for a minute. I said, I got to hold on for you to give me Brandy's phone number? She said, yes. So that made me wonder, why I got to hold on to get Brandy's number? What's going on at your workplace? What is happening right now? So finally, she came back to the phone and she gave me Brandy's number. But I did not call Brandy back that day because for me, it was a strategic move because I felt like everybody was waiting on Denise to call Brandy back. So that meant Brandy was not going to be available. So I'm going to wait and talk to Brandy. And so I lifted this conversation up today to talk about what's happening in the workplace, because what I know is happening in the legislature, I believe, is filtering over into every aspect of our daily lives. Where one of the things that we are not doing, one of the things that we will not consider, one of the things that we do not hold sacred is the notion, the understanding, the concept, the theory of putting people first. I'm not concerned about policies and procedures that are not rooted in putting people first. I am not concerned about bottom lines that are motivated by dollars. I'm not concerned about bottom lines that are trying to make sure that they are giving the stakeholders a bonus at the end of the year. I'm not motivated about how much money you can make off of the services that you are rendering. I'm motivated by, I want to center people first. If you have any inclination of what dialysis does to a person's body, listen, I know that dialysis is used to keep a person alive longer than would be possible without dialysis. I'm fully aware of that. But I also know that dialysis wreaks havoc on a person's body. And I know not just because I've read about it, not just because I've done the research, not just because I've watched the videos, but because I'm living with somebody and I'm watching her come home from dialysis. I'm watching her barely able to walk to the door. I'm watching her need assistance in lifting up her leg to get into the bed. I'm watching her not be able to eat when she gets home because she's just too exhausted. I'm watching how her body just cannot function until she's able to get some rest for at least 3 or 4 hours before she begins to feel like maybe, just maybe, I want to get up and eat a cracker. I know what I'm talking about because I'm living with it every single day. So you want to tell me that even though this is the experience of not just my mama on dialysis, but everybody on dialysis, it just affects her differently because her body is 86 years old and she is now wanting to be as independent as possible. And you say to me that in your workplace, y'all done sat down and decided on your own that it's more efficient to pick her up 3.5 hours before time for her to go through all of that. I wonder how many of you at your workplace are living with a patient who has to be dialyzed 3 times a week. So we're talking 9 hours and 45 minutes a week. All of the blood being drained for their body so they can be cleansed and then return to their body so that they can function in a limited capacity. How many of you? And so that made me think about the workplace that I used to be in as a public school teacher, when we would get policies and procedures that would be brought down from the central office. They want to send us what we ought to do in the classroom. And then when you do your homework on those who are writing the policies, on those who are designing the procedures, you realize that none of them have been in the classroom. You don't know what it's like to deal with 30 students who all have their own different personalities with at least 5 different learning styles in the room. You got one child over here with an IEP. You got another child over here with attention deficit disorder. You got another child over here who does not know how to behave in a way that other folks call normal. And you want to tell me what to do in my classroom, and you have no idea what it's like to be the one in charge of trying to make sure that these children are educated in a way, not so that they can pass your test that you done created, that you done got from Kansas City somewhere, and you wanted me to do it in Mississippi, but so that they can learn the skills that they need to navigate life. I think this is what's happening all across all workspaces, that we are not putting people first. We don't even have people who are leading us who understand people. You understand grids. You understand SMART goals. You understand benchmarks. But I can't get you to understand people. So when we think about the injustices that folks are suffering in the workplace, the root cause analysis is we have not put people first. Everything else is first. We're talking about our governor on Tuesday, and I was going through, every now and then I will scroll through Facebook. Every now and again, I'll do that. Usually I use Facebook to post about what's happening in my own world, right? Like, I want you to know Community Voices is happening soon. Friends, this is happening soon. The workplace, friends, this is happening soon. The Good Fight, friends, this is happening soon. I just read this book. Tell me what you think about it. I just read that book. Tell me what you think of it. What are y'all reading? Like, that's usually how I use Facebook. But every now and then I will scroll. And I was scrolling the other day, and people were talking about the governor, and they were commenting on this outfit that she was wearing. And this is not the first time that I've seen a Facebook post where folks are commenting on the governor's outfit. And don't get me wrong, the outfit that she had on was atrocious. It was ugly, it was ill-fitting, it was not flattering, because everybody has something that you can highlight to showcase the very best of that body. So even the governor has something about her body that she can highlight if she wants to capitalize on her best assets. But apparently she has not figured that out. And so she wears clothes and she wears attire. If she has a designer, if she has a stylist, if she has a personal shopper, that person sucks and she needs to fire them. But they were talking about her outfit, and I agree with them. I agree with the concept. Like, yes, this is atrocious. But what I said was, I couldn't care less what she has on. What I care about is what she's signing. I care about this legislation that she is putting her name. I care about these executive orders that she is formalizing into law. I care about what she is doing that is directly impacting our lives in adverse ways. She is in the workplace and y'all worried about what she got on. And that's not just happening in the governor's office. It's happening all across our land. You worried about whether or not I quote unquote look professional. I'm worried about whether or not you are acting professional with the way you are handling people. That's what I'm more concerned about. Caller, you're live on the air, KBF 88.3. Thanks for calling.
Can you hear me, Dad? Can you hear me? Keep on that. Hello. Hey.
Are you playing with me right now? So in the workplace, if we're going to talk about how we are going to show up for folks who are punching a clock, whose livelihood depends on making sure that they are present every day. And let's not even talk about those people who are salaried, because those people who are salaried, you have a benefit package. Right? The benefit package allows you to have time off, allows you to have paid vacation. It allows you more flexibility with your schedule so that you can tend to the needs of your body, so that you can tend to the needs of your family, so that you can tend the needs of your spouse. And that is a privilege. I said the other day when I told you Saturday, I had to deliver some content for one of my clients at the Capitol. And I said to them, no, it wasn't that Saturday. It was probably a couple of Saturdays before that when I was at the Ronald McDonald House. And I said, I think your life would be different. And I did not ask who was Christian. I did not ask who was faithful. I did not ask who was religious. I did not ask who was a churchgoer. I did not ask any of those questions. But what I said was, I think your life would look differently if rather than say you're blessed about something, you substitute the word blessed for privileged. I think if you begin to use privilege every time you would normally, habitually, routinely use blessed, I think you would think about your life. No. I know you would think about your life differently. Because when you say blessed, you act like it's something that God has done for you. And then you also act like it's because you've done so much for God that God favors you. And then you will give yourself an out in the fact that other people do not experience the same privileges that you have by saying, well, favor ain't fair. That's what you do. You justify the discrimination that's in the world. You justify your own privilege. But if you stop saying blessing, if you stop using God as a weapon, if you stop using God as an out, if you stop using God as a scapegoat, and you call it what it is, some of us on our jobs, especially if we are salaried, we have more privilege than other people because there are some people who are working hourly. So if you do not work, you do not get paid. So that means you cannot afford to go to the doctor during the day. And I don't know how many doctor's offices are open after hours. How many doctor's offices can you go? If you have a primary care physician, do you get a doctor's appointment at 5 o'clock in the afternoon? I don't. So people who are not privileged to be salaried, who are working hourly, they don't have the rights. They don't have the opportunity to tend their family, to tend their spouse, to tend their bodies in the same way. So we're talking about these people who are on this job, who are trying to make ends meet the best way they can. And a lot of times, I don't want to say 9 times out of 10, but a lot of times, those people have to work a second job Because the first job that I have, I might be making minimum wage, but minimum wage is less than $15 an hour. And that's not a living wage. Even if we pay people $15 an hour, that's not a living wage. I still you can't buy an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, anywhere in the United States making $15 an hour. You cannot even secure a 2-bedroom apartment. And so people have to work more than one job because they are not able to make ends meet. So they're doing the very best that they can. And then when they walk into the workplace, one of the reasons that they get written up is because you don't look professional. What you mean? Because I got on an outfit that you don't think is cute. Because I got you worried about whether or not I'm wearing tennis shoes. I'm working 8 hours here. I got to go and work 8 hours somewhere else. I got to go home and feed hungry children. I got to go home and tend to a spouse who also has needs that they want me to satisfy, because we've also given people this, oh my goodness, to talk about relationships and the expectations that we place on our spouses that are our partners or our live-in companions, whoever it is. It's unrealistic that I'm supposed to be I'm supposed to go to work, I'm supposed to take care of the children, and I gotta give you everything that you need. I gotta be your everything. I gotta make you happy. I gotta feed. It's just ridiculous. And so when we're talking about what's happening in the workplace and we're asking ourselves, how can we come alongside folks to make sure that they are experiencing justice in the workplace, we got to be willing to call and advocate on behalf of others. Because listen, I talked to you about my mother. Now, my mother is leaving. I get out on the plane on Saturday morning. We are out of here. I'm going to tag team my brother, Dwayne. He's the one in Fort Myers. That's her next stop for the next 4 months. So when Crystal calls me and tells me that the schedule won't take effect until November 6th, which is next Monday, which is 2 days after my mother will be gone, one could say, well, Denise, I don't even know why you're worried about it. It doesn't affect your mama. You're right, it doesn't affect my mama, but it affects somebody's mama. It affects somebody's spouse. It affects somebody's child. It affects somebody's niece. It affects somebody's nephew. It affects somebody's gender non-conforming, gender non-binary family member. It affects somebody, and therefore it affects me. So I'm going to call when I leave here so that I can talk to Brandy, who is Mac's boss, so I can say to you, let me tell you what you're not going to do. You are not going to schedule a pickup time 3.5 hours earlier for somebody so that they can experience dialysis, which is already something that impacts them negatively 3 times a week. You're not gonna do it. And if they declare that I'm gonna say put it in writing. I want you to put it in writing that if you're not gonna pick my mom up at 7:30 in the morning, that she can't be picked up at all. I don't believe they'll put that in writing. Do you believe they'll put that in writing? I want you to and I want it on your letterhead, and I want you to sign it. Because I'm going to use it to fight this battle. That doesn't even affect my mama, because she going to be gone. When we get to the point that we realize that whatever my neighbor is going through, whatever my friend is going through, whatever my pastor is going through, whatever a stranger is going through also affects me, because we are connected by our humanity. And I'm willing to fight for somebody I don't even know. Until we get to that point, we cannot see justice in our world. Caller, you're live on the air, KBF 88.3. Thanks for calling.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine, how are you?
Hey, I just want to let you know that as a person who had a mother, I got an echo too. But anyway, as a person who had a mother who had to go through that same thing, I'm going to tell you what's at the end of the road and what they're going to tell you.
Okay.
And I've checked legally, they don't have to give it a ride. And if anywhere in this story that you decide that you're going to take her to Dallas, or you can get an independent person to take her to the dialysis, because they don't have to take her to dialysis. They don't have to. They provide that as an extra service, and they do get paid. So that means that they don't have to. They can refuse the services, or they can and just say, hey, if you don't fit the schedule, we don't have to, you know, we can't come to no conclusion. All they have to do is offer a ride. They don't have to provide a ride when the schedules don't work. So you're just going to be going up a hill and you have to roll back down that hill. Just let you know.
I appreciate you.
Okay.
Yeah, so caller says, look, you can get mad all you want. You can call Brandy, you can call Crystal, you can call Mac, you can call whoever you want to call. At the end of the day, all they have to do is say that they offered you the service, and that's enough. I think I'm going to go up this hill and come back down anyway. I don't know if I'm going to spend a lot of money on it. Let me just be honest about that. If it's going to cost a lot of money, based on what the caller said, I don't think I'm going to spend a lot of money on it. But I'm willing to go up this hill, even if I lose. Because one of the principles in this book that so many of us revere, that we call the Bible, I don't revere the Bible. I don't worship the Bible. I don't think it's basic instructions before leaving earth. I don't think it's God inspired. I don't think it's God's holy word. I don't think anything about that. But I do think that it has principles that I can apply to my life. And one of the principles that I do apply, that I found in that book, just like there are principles that I apply to my life that I find in other books. Let me tell you about this book. The book is called Damaged But Not Destroyed, and it's by this man who I think is a preacher. I have not done the research on him. His name is Michael Todd. My cousin, who is a very avid, who's a very habitual churchgoer. We were having a conversation yesterday, and one of the principles in the book that I have not read is. People are running from God, so they go to therapy, and people go to therapy because they're running from God. So there's this principle that she has decided that she's going to apply to her life that she got out of this book that is not the Bible. So I only said that to say that I'm the same way, that there are phrases, there are statements, there are principles that I get out of any book that's written by anybody that I believe when I read them, they make my soul leap. My soul just kind of reaches out and grabs hold to the words, and then I internalize them and I begin to apply them. So I do the same thing with the Bible, not because it's the Bible, but because it's a book that has principles in it. Just like for her, this book, Damaged But Not Destroyed by Michael Todd, a Black man who happens to be a Christian, she found this principle that she has grabbed hold to. So there's this principle that says you have not because you ask not. And so sometimes I think that we already believe that we know what the end is going to be. And therefore that knowledge of what the end might possibly be may paralyze some of us. And so some of you right now are not applying for a job because you have a history of entanglement with the mass incarceration system, with the system of criminal injustice. So you've decided that you already know that they're not going to hire you, so you won't even apply. But how do you know? Some of you have decided that you're not going to apply for a loan because you don't have the right number credit score, and you say, "Well, since my credit score is not this, I already know that they're not going to approve me." How do you know? Because here's my way of thinking. If this new schedule at CareLink is not going to affect my mother because she won't even be here, if it's not going to affect her right now, and I already know that, then what have I lost if I ask? Because if they're already not going to pick her up on Monday because she won't be here. So if they tell me they're not going to pick her up, I'm still in the same situation. So what have I lost? Absolutely nothing. But what if this time they say, you know what? We hadn't thought of it. You know what? And it changes. What if? And so I'm going to ask. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'm definitely not going to spend too much money on it, but I am willing to put forth the effort. And that becomes the critical question for us when we talk about not just the workplace, but any space in our lives where we know injustice is happening. Are we willing to put forth the effort for somebody who isn't even us, for somebody else? If we know Whether or not they pick my mama up, whether or not they change their schedule does not affect Denise's life at all. I do not have kidney failure. I don't have diabetes. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have any of those things. I don't have those comorbidities. Not those. So it does not affect me at all. But if I say to you on a regular basis that I am a social justice activist, if I say to you on a regular basis that I'm fighting for collective liberation, if I say to you on a regular basis I'm going to center Black bodies, but I want us all to recognize that all of us are dealing with the effects of racism, sexism, classism, homophobia, trans. If I say that, if I constantly say that, and I'm not willing to fight for anybody other than me, then I'm not living what I'm talking about. On some level, I'm a pontificator. I keep thinking about pontificators. Folks that just stand up and talk. It sounds so good what's coming out of their mouth. It sounds so good how poetically they can confuse the words together. It sounds so good. As a matter of fact, I felt like a pontificator the other day because the slides wouldn't work when I went to do the work. When I went to my contract, I had to deliver the content, and the slides wouldn't work. And so when the slides wouldn't work, I'm like, okay, well, I gotta do this on my own. So that means I gotta embody the slides. I got to remember the slides. I got to hold these people captive because there's no visual. There's nothing else that they can grab hold to. There are no tables. There is no paper. They can't doodle. They can't do anything but listen to me. So I got to do something to make sure that I hold them in my hand and take them on this journey. How do I keep them right here with me? How do I hold them captivated? How do I make them feel like when they walk out this door, my, didn't our hearts burn as she was talking about social justice in this room? How do I do that? And it becomes more of a performance than a professional delivery of content. And sometimes that's what we do. We perform for folks. It sounds good what's coming out of our mouths. We say the right thing at the right time to the right person. It makes them feel the right thing. And then we think we've done something. Well, we know we've done something because we've ignited a fire in them, but our own lives are not changed. So when we talk about showing up for the workplace every Thursday, except on the third Thursday of the month, because that's the health corner. But we talk about the workplace. How are we going to show up for folks who are not us? What principles can we find in any book, in any conversation, in any relationship that we can internalize that say, I am willing to fight the fight even if I lose. I'm willing to go to bat for somebody else because this don't make no sense. I don't care who it affects. It don't make no sense because I guarantee you that people, we talked about those who are employed on an hourly basis, who are probably working more than one job, who probably have work to do when they get home besides the work that they have to do at the workplace, probably have children, probably have a spouse, probably have a family, may have older parents like me that they have to care for. And if you think they got time to do it, when they gonna do it? And we sitting up here, salary we can take off. Sometimes, tell the truth, y'all. Sometimes we take off because we just need a mental day. I just don't feel like going to work today. And we just take off because we're going to get paid anyway. And you ain't got time to fight for somebody else. Why? Because you use that day to go to the store. You use that day to shop. I took me a mental health day yesterday. And I was in Ross Dress for Less looking for luggage. And so I feel like what is pushing me to think about beyond the fact that this is probably not going to work, right? So the call is like, listen, I just want to be clear with you what you're trying to do on behalf of your mother and other people who are dealing with the transportation service. I think although it may be noble, it's not going to work. And so you're wasting your time. So I'm sure that your energy and your time could be spent somewhere else. And so I feel like beyond even thinking about that the caller is saying, okay, Denise, if this won't work, ask the question why. Why won't it work? Well, it won't work because that's the policy that's in place. Okay, well then maybe I don't need to come for the changing of the schedule. Maybe that's not my concern. Maybe that's not where the work is. Maybe I need to come for changing the policy, which means I need to talk to not just this boss's boss. I need to talk to the owner. I need to talk to the collaborative group, the corporation. I need to go to whoever the top is. I need to go there and say, listen, this policy needs to be changed. That says all you have to do is offer the service, and that's more than enough. No, the policy needs to say that we are going to do what is best for the patient. That's what the policy says. Over and above anything else, we put our patients first because our patients are people and we want to tend their bodies because that is the most important thing, not our bottom line, and not just being able to check a box and say, well, at least we offered it to her. Maybe that's what I received. I say all the time in the work that I do, I'm not going to say this is what you said. I'm going to say this is what I heard. So I'm not saying that's what the caller said, but I'm going to say that's what I heard. I heard the caller say, you need to push beyond the schedule. And you need to get down to the nitty gritty. What does it say on the, you need to change what it says in the paper. Because when people get hired, they're going to be oriented to the handbook. So we need to make sure that the handbook says something different than what it says right now. And when we're talking about the workplace, that becomes the issue. I don't want to talk about what you know, what you was taught. Ma'am, I'm just telling you what they told me. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about, let's change what they told you. Where did that come from? What they told you, where did that come from? It came out of this book. Okay, well, let's change this book. Let's change the people in the room who writing the book. One of the things that we have come to realize in a very painful way when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, many of the times what happens is corporations in particular, for-profit corporations in particular, but it happens in nonprofits as well. They will hire a person of color, particularly a Black person. They will hire that person to be in the role of diversity, equity, and inclusion so that that person can then push the policies that have been designed by their bosses. So the person who's pushing the policies is Black, talking to people who are of color, talking to people who are poor, talking to people who are less educated than the folks who are writing the policies. And then, and so because the person who is pushing the policies is from a marginalized identity, then the people look at that person as the reason why the injustice is happening to them. You're the one who's the face, so we're going to blame this on you, when really the person who's pushing the policy is only doing what the white folks told them to do. So you get mad at the person pushing the policy, but they're not the ones with the power. Yes, they are the ones with the position, but they are not the ones with the power. And so we get so mad and we push back and we talk about the person pushing the policy, and we want to look, and and those of us who decide that violence is the answer, when we shoot to kill, we're gonna shoot this person, but they're not the ones in charge. The persons who created the policy, they remain unscathed. And so we have to realize, even in the workplace, how we're being used to abuse other folks. And I get it. The person pushing the policy got a family to tend to. They got children to feed too. They have mortgages to pay, luxury cars with insurance and car notes. At what point do we say that it doesn't matter? I'm not going to be motivated by my mortgage. I'm not going to be motivated by my car note. I'm going to be motivated by my body. I'm going to be motivated by the bodies of others. I'm going to be motivated by the bodies of my children, by the bodies of the generations who are coming behind me. Because what kind of world am I leaving to them if I say, girl, just do what you got to do, long as you can pay your house note? Long as you can pay your car note, long as you can pay your mortgage, it don't matter. Just tap dance for the people. Do whatever you got to do. I don't believe that's what my ancestors did. I really don't. I can see how it may look like that's what they did. I can see how people, especially white folks, want to, I can see how they want to use as justification. Well, oh my goodness, what was the first contract I lost? The first contract I lost for a contractor, oh my goodness, was when I was talking about the system of enslavement in America, trying to root the conversation in the history of racism that is our DNA. And one of the white men in the room said, that's not true. That's not true because not all Black people had a problem with their masters, because if they had had a problem with their masters, they wouldn't have taken their last name. I said, what? They wanted to be a part of the family. They wanted their last. They loved their masters. I said, what? Yeah, that's why they worked for them. They did. That's why they stayed on the plantation even after slavery was over, because they did not want to be separated from the people who had treated them so well. I said, what? And I went in. I went all the way in. I didn't get fired from the job, but I got fired from that contract. In fact, our whole organization got fired from the contract. So I can see how the stories that we tell justify for some the myths that we perpetuate about racism in the world. But that's because we're not telling the truth. It may look like my ancestors said, I'm going to tap dance for these white folks because I want to be able to make it to Jubilee. But that's not what happened. There were revolts. There were murders. There were escapes. There were tunnels. There were railroads that were underground. There were songs that were metaphors. There were sermons that were symbolic. There was a lot of work being done that you can't see if you don't dig for it. So I think we're losing some of that we're getting caught up in the myths, thinking that we just need to tap dance long enough to get mine. If all you're doing is getting yours, then we can't get free, because our freedom is tied to the freedom of the next person. If Muslims ain't free in our country, then Black folks ain't free. If people of trans experience ain't free in our country, then Black folks ain't free. If people who are gay, if Black men who are gay are not free in our country, then Black folks ain't free. And if Black folks ain't free, white folks ain't free. Our freedom is tied to each other. So I'm going to take the caller's response as a challenge to go beyond the schedule, to not spend all my time talking about the schedule. But let's look at the policy. Let's look at the policy makers. Let's look at who the policy makers are. How many people in this room have different lived experience so that they can bring a bigger picture to the table when we're trying to decide on what the schedule should look like? Who is it that's deciding? Folks that don't live it? Folks that don't know people who live the experience? How you going to decide for us by yourself? It's not possible for you to be more efficient when the people at the table are not more efficient in diversity, in equity, in inclusion, in equality, in justice, in belonging. It's not possible. So we show up on Thursdays to talk about the workplace. And I just want to say that I hope that the next time I scroll through Facebook and somebody want to talk about the governor, I hope it's not her clothes that you're talking about. I don't care nothing about her wearing no boots. Let's talk about the policies. Let's talk about the fact that the Daughters of the American Revolution is a display in the Capitol right now. Who decided that? Who signed off on that? Who was at that table? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the LEARNS Act. I don't hear too many people talking about it anymore. I know that it's being talked about, but at first when she was trying to pass it, we were all up in arms. We were talking we were making all kinds of noise. But what about now? Where are we on it? One of the things I learned from, well, I don't want to say I learned it from Representative Jamie Scott, but she really brought it to not just my attention, but our attention. Everybody who showed up for the memorial, the remembrance from that was hosted by the Equal Justice Initiative in partnership with the Arkansas Peace and Justice Memorial Movement that is led by Clarice and Kwame Abdul-Bey on that Saturday. Representative Scott got up and she talked about how it's a lonely road being in the legislature as a young Black woman, and how she shows up every day to make sure that she is advocating, activating, irritating, agitating on behalf of her people, not just Black people, but the people who have called her to serve. And sometimes it means that she has to show up in full force for Black folks because of the environment, the political atmosphere. She shows up for them when they won't show up for themselves, let alone show up for her. And she began to cry. Not tears of I'm asking you to have pity on me, not tears for sympathy, not even tears for empathy, but tears that manifest her truth. We got to show up for this stuff. We can't just keep talking about it. And I want y'all to hold us accountable right here at the workplace, right here at KBF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. It is 10 o'clock. The top of the hour. My time is up. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be right back here. Look, don't let me talk for Tony. I'm gonna let you tell him when he'll be when he'll be back. Thank you for showing up for us. Don't touch that dial. There's more for you to hear right here at 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people.